Let's get it, 580 Sports Talk on a victory Monday for the Kansas City Chiefs. An AFC West Division Championship victory Monday at that for the 9th consecutive year. The Chiefs rule the roost in the AFC West. Another last-second victory for the Chiefs. Typically, when we talk about last-second victories, we refer to them as thrillers. That was not a thriller last night. For the better part of 60 minutes, much like most Chiefs games this year, that was a slog. That was a grim, joyless, frustrating slog. But if all you're in it for is the winning, the payoff, once again, is there for the Chiefs as they become the first team in NFL history to have 3 different kickers make walk-off field goals in the same season. Not only that, I believe they are the first NFL team to have even had 2 different kickers to connect on walk-off field goals in the same season. And Matthew Wright last night made 3, joining Harrison Butker in week 2, Spencer Schrader a couple weeks back against Carolina. Another kicking hero. The boy made it close, didn't he? Well, you can't come a lot closer to missing a 31-yard field goal than Matthew Wright did. But he doinked it through, I guess, to add a little bit of drama and to further aggravate and annoy the legions of Chiefs haters out there who think that this is all luck, that this is 100% luck for the Chiefs. It's not. I don't need to tell you that, but the haters and losers, of which there are many, sick to their stomachs by the fact that the Chiefs won that game on a doink. They would have been less mad if Wright would have just split the uprights. The fact that he dinked it in off of the left upright made everybody so mad. And I am probably, by virtue of where I come from, my name is Dan Lucero, by the way, and this is 580 Sports Talk and 580 WIBW FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and live in living color on our video stream. You can catch us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can catch us on Facebook, WIBW News. By virtue of where I come from, I am connected to a lot of people who are not only not Chiefs fans, but would like nothing more than to see the Chiefs lose. Like people that have been preying on the Chiefs' downfall for the better part of half a decade. And man, they hated the way that game ended. They hate this Chiefs team more than they hate any other Chiefs team because of how the Chiefs keep winning games despite, frankly, not playing A+ football. And frankly, needing a break or two here and there. But wins are wins, and winners win, and the Chiefs keep proving week in, week out that when it comes to winning time, they find a way to be one play better than whoever they play. Doesn't matter who they play. Doesn't matter how good who they play is. One play better. That's all it takes. If you are one play better than your opponent, every game, you win. Period. One play better. That is what the Chiefs are. That is how they have built this 12-1 record. That is how they now have a game-and-a-half lead in the AFC race for the number 1 seed, because you know who wasn't one play better than the Rams yesterday? The Buffalo Bills. Even though they were just about perfect, the Rams were one play better. And the Chiefs one play better than the Chargers last night in a 19-17 win. We have lots to say about it throughout the show today. Matt Verderame, our NFL insider from SportsIllustratedSI.com, will join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get Matt's take on that Chiefs win and the rest of the NFL Week 15 action. Kind of a crummy week, to be honest. Not like great games. Thursday night, we got a heater. Bills-Rams was awesome. Other than that, like not a lot of like awesome games, not a lot of awesome stuff happening to talk about in the NFL, which means there was some bad football. And you guys know this. I like getting Matt to talk about bad football as much as I like getting Matt to talk about good football. And there was some bad football this weekend. So looking forward to Matt's visit with us as always. He'll come in and join us at the bottom of this 3 o'clock hour. Lots of NFL content on this Victory Monday. We've also got some college football to get to. It was a busy weekend, big news weekend. This is the day on which you must decide if you're going to enter the transfer portal. So lots of names flying about. I wouldn't say there had been a major departure in the transfer portal for either KU or K-State, but one notable Wildcat is submitting his name for the NFL draft. And I think it's a good decision because I think he is going to be drafted. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. One player who's not going anywhere, Jalen Daniels, announcing over the weekend he's coming back to KU for his 6th year of eligibility. He had an injury redshirt and the COVID year. He's got one more year of college football. He's going to play it in Lawrence. We'll discuss that. He'll have a new offensive coordinator, and the defense will have a new defensive coordinator. Wholesale changes beneath Lance Leipold. I guess wholesale's not quite right, but some promotions, in-house promotions happening on the KU staff. We will discuss those. Also, K-State knows where it's headed for their bowl. And what it does is it gives your pals here at 580 Sports Talk the day after Christmas off, because it is a 4:30 Central Time kickoff on the day after Christmas, December 26th, from Chase Field in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, the Rate Bowl for the Kansas State Wildcats. They will play against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Second time ever K-State and Rutgers have played in football. First time was also in a bowl. It was the 2006 Texas Bowl. If you don't remember how that ended, if you're a K-State fan, don't look it up. Just don't. If you've forgotten, good. No need to revisit that. So that is the bowl game for the Kansas State Wildcats. Plenty more to say about that as that draws closer, but obviously lots of college football news. It was championship weekend. We have our college football playoff bracket. I was dead convinced they were going to put Alabama in that thing right up until they didn't. So we will talk about that. Also, college basketball weekend. There is a difference between getting beat and getting punked. K-State got beat on Saturday. KU got punked yesterday at Mizzou Arena. We will discuss the weekend that was in college basketball on the hardwood. We've got our resident Mizzou fan, Trevor, in the YouTube live chat, making a reference to our resident Jayhawk, who is not here today, about which, more in a moment. But yeah, it'll be me today. Spencer Dupuis will join later on, but no Brendan today to answer for his Jayhawks, but for the best possible reason. Again, we'll get there in a second. So we got some college basketball to talk about. We got what is wrong with you. We'll do good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. Recap NFL Week 15. Lots of great stuff on the show today. Want you to get involved. You can hit us up on the text line. We've been having a bit of a technical issue with the text line, but keep trying it, and hopefully we get that hammered out today. 785-272-9429. Or if you are watching on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can interact in the live chat. See, as I mentioned, Trevor's in, Christopher's in, Vance, Mark B, and Mark H are both in early on. Love seeing everybody jump in, interact with each other. It's a nice little community we've started to form in this live chat. And also, of course, you can interact with your host throughout the show. That is on our YouTube stream, live every show, 580 Sports Talk. It is just yours truly, Dan Lucero, for the start of this show. Spencer Dupuis is going to be along in a little bit. Brendan Dupuis, oh my God. Brendan Dworzinski is not here today because he is a new father. Can confirm for you folks that Brendan's wife delivered their first child successfully Friday morning. The details of which I will leave to Brendan when he returns to us, how much he would like to share. But I did want to pass that along, that wonderful news that the Dworzinskis are now a family of 3 and that mother and baby and father are resting well and extremely happy, and we are happy for them. We are so happy for the Dworzinskis and for Brendan, and he will be on paternity leave for a while yet, so you'll probably hear from him around the turn of the calendar to 2025. So he is enjoying some time with his baby, and these are wonderful times, those first couple of days. Very, very surreal times, and I'm glad Brendan gets to spend them at home. Also, it is the damnedest thing that my son and his child were born exactly 6 months apart. That is, it's weird enough, right, that we have wives with the same first name and the same spelling of that first name, the same fairly uncommon spelling of that first name. But now we have children, each of our firsts, born 6 months apart, exactly 6 months apart. December 6th for Brendan's baby, and June 6th for my son. So, yes, wonderful news from that side of things, and want to pass that along. I know people were curious when Brendan left the show in a hurry on Thursday afternoon, but it's all happy news, and everything seems to be going well in the early stages of parenthood for our friend Brendan. So that is where he is today and for a while. And I know you'll join me in continuing to wish the Drzezinskis all the best. Anyway, how about we get into some football, huh? Chiefs 19, Chargers 17, the second consecutive game in which that was the final score. How about this stat as the Chiefs wrap up their 9th consecutive AFC West championship? The Chiefs scored a grand total of 3 touchdowns in their 3 home games against AFC West competition. All of them were touchdown passes inside of 10 yards. 1 touchdown against the Broncos, win the game 16-14 on a blocked field goal. 1 touchdown against the Raiders on Black Friday, win that game because the Raiders forget the snap count in the final seconds. And 1 touchdown last night against the Chargers that staked the Chiefs at the time to a 13-0 lead. And that was all it took as the Chiefs are able to run out the clock at the end before Matthew Wright's 31-yard field goal to win the game 19-17. I thought the Chiefs played a really good first half, all things considered, and I kind of expected they might cruise, but give Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers credit. That's a good team, tough-minded. They've taken on the personality of their head coach. They're very physical, and I thought they were a little tougher than the Chiefs in some ways on Sunday night. A little bit more physical, a little bit tougher at the line of scrimmage. Got their running game going after. They did nothing on offense in the first half. I mean, zip. But they got some things going in the second half, started to run the ball a little bit. That opened the passing game. And, of course, it wouldn't be a Chiefs-Chargers game without verifiably not good receivers for the Chargers looking like the second coming of Lance Bambi Allworth. Joshua Palmer and Quentin Johnston looked like Jerry Rice and John Taylor in their primes. It was ridiculous. They were going to work last night, going to work on mostly Shamari Connor and Brian Cook, because that's the pressure point the teams are putting right now in the Chiefs defense. They get matchups against those guys in coverage, and the quarterbacks know where the ball is supposed to go. You're going at number 27, and you're going at number 6. And then when Najee Johnson had to come in the game, you're going to number 13. It's not a great situation on the back end. It allowed for the Chargers to take the lead at 14-13, take the lead at 16-14. And the Chiefs got the ball with 4.5 minutes left. They got it at the 40 because the Chargers screwed up the kickoff. I didn't have a lot of doubt the Chiefs were going to find a way to go and score. What I wondered about was, would they run the time off the clock? Would they manage the end of the game correctly? Let's give Andy Reid some credit. Andy Reid called the pass play. Patrick Mahomes kind of asked him to call the pass play on the 3rd down coming out of the 2-minute warning. Obviously, the downside there is big, right? If you don't complete the pass, you're still in field goal range. You still feel good about Matthew Wright making his kick from where the Chiefs were. It would have been a 37-yarder if Mahomes had thrown an incomplete pass. And maybe Mahomes would have been alert enough to just maybe slide down and take a sack if nobody was open and, back the field goal up a little bit, but you still, again, feel decent about Matthew Wright. He made all his kicks to that point. But a first down functionally ends the game, or at least it means that you control how the game ends. And that's the one play better that the Chiefs were than the Chargers last night. That was the one play. It was Patrick Mahomes eluding the pass rush. I think it was Diane Henley who played a great game for the Chargers. Holy cow, was he awesome. He had a free run at Mahomes, and Mahomes made a miss. And I'm not entirely sure how he did that. Just like I'm not entirely sure how he hooked up with Xavier Worthy for 14 yards on 3rd and 10 earlier in the drive. Other than to say that he's Patrick Mahomes, and that's what he does. And he was one play better. And Travis Kelce, as he's done for years, found the room in the zone. He hadn't done it all night, but on 3rd down, they finally connected for the completion that moved the sticks on 3rd and 7 and allowed the Chiefs to kneel the clock down to 1 second, set the stage for the field goal. The camera panned, if you were watching the game, to Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert had a very familiar look on his face. I'd love to see a collage of these looks of defeated quarterbacks against the Chiefs, where they come to the realization that That Mahomes just made another play, and I'm not going to get the ball back, am I? I'm not going to get it back. We just lost, didn't we? That look on Justin Herbert's face. We've seen that look on Joe Burrow's face. We've seen that look on Josh Allen's face. We've seen it on Lamar Jackson's face. Basically everybody, every prominent quarterback in the league, you've seen that look on their face. It is the unmistakable, I can't believe we're losing to this guy again. He got me again. That look. I would love to see like a collage of those looks someday. So that's good stuff, right? Chiefs defended well mostly, held that team to 16 points, although they were really beat up on offense. Held to a field goal on the drive late that gave the Chiefs a chance to go win the game with a field goal. Sacked Justin Herbert twice. I thought generated some pretty good pressure. Trent McDuffie played a really good game on the back end. He's holding up just fine. That's the good stuff, right? Here's the bad stuff. Man, they're going to get Patrick Mahomes killed. Like, I haven't seen Mahomes take a beating like that since Super Bowl 55. And some of this, you have to tip your cap to the Chargers defense, who you got Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa, two guys who are going to Canton someday, coming off the edge. Your left tackle has played one football game in a calendar year and has been on the team for a week and a half. The conditions were there for the Chargers, who are an aggressive blitz team, and Jesse Minter's a great defensive coordinator. I said on our instant reaction video last night, which you can watch on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, in case you missed it. Spencer Dupuy and I went live right after the Chiefs win. And I said on the instant reaction video last night, Jesse Minter is going to be a head coach very soon. So he is not going to be a problem that you have to deal with as the Chargers defensive coordinator, I think, for all that longer. I actually think Minter probably gets a job this offseason. I think his rise is that real as a coaching prospect. But they dialed up some great stuff, some really good blitzes. They got free runners at Mahomes. Mahomes took a beating. He was only sacked 3 times. And to be fair to the Chiefs offensive line, 2 of those sacks were coverage sacks. He didn't get sacked in the second half. That's the offensive line doing his job. That's Mahomes and the receivers doing their job. But 15 quarterback hits, I believe it was, 15 knockdowns, according to the ESPN stats. You can't ask Mahomes to keep taking hit after hit like that. He's a tough buck, but that's a lot of punishment that he took last night. DJ Humphries wasn't real good in his debut. I didn't think he was terrible. I think it was excusable that he wasn't like the second coming of Walter Jones or even the second coming of a guy like Eric Fisher. I figured there'd be some difficulty for DJ in game 1. Now you just hope there is a game 2 because he's having an MRI on his hamstring today, and we'll see if Humphries is good to go for the next game. He wasn't real good, and then for the first time, kind of felt like nobody up front was because pressure was coming from all over the place. And it's not just the offensive line that contributes to a quarterback getting hit. It's a quarterback holding the ball maybe a little bit too long. And what I really felt, you got plays that are either taking too long to develop or just aren't getting guys open. This is systemic now. The problem that Patrick Mahomes has had with being sacked, which I think it's now 23 times the last 5 games, and getting hit the way he did. The problem is systemic. The problem is all over. And it's not just the 5 guys up front or the running backs, tight ends assigned to help blocking. Now it's systemic. And I felt like on third down, especially in the first half last night, these third down plays that the Chiefs are calling are taking way too long to develop. Now, the Chiefs did hit on one. If you remember, it was the drag route to Xavier Worthy across the middle. I think that was early third quarter. It was well designed. Xavier Worthy got a step on a little drag, mesh, whatever you want to call it, and Mahomes was able to float it over the top and get him on the run, and Worthy turned the corner and picked up the first down on a 3rd and long. That's good design. I like that play. On a 3rd down with the blitz bearing down on you and you can't protect your quarterback, I like it a little less. The Chiefs have their best success when Mahomes drops back quick, gets the ball out quick. The rhythm, the tempo, the quick game offense, that is the Chiefs' best bet right now. They have the pass catchers to make it work. They have some guys like Worthy and Hopkins and even still Kelsey and now Noah Gray who can get you a couple of extra yards after the catch. That needs to be the foundation of the Chiefs passing offense. I know I've spent all year begging for shot plays and deep balls and get it over the top and bring back the explosive play. Mea culpa. I'm wrong. I'm backpedaling off of my stance. I regret the error. My first. You got to protect Patrick Mahomes. That's the thing you have to put at a premium now. That's the only thing that matters. If you don't have a healthy Mahomes for January, none of this stuff matters. And to keep Mahomes upright, he has to get the ball out quicker. So the designs that Andy Reid, Matt Nagy, whoever else is coming up with have to be for some quicker throws, some quicker reads, and Mahomes has to get the ball out in a hurry, even if it means he becomes a bit more of a check down artist than you would like to see. That's what's going to keep him healthy. That's what's going to give this offense a chance to survive into the playoffs. Otherwise, the beatings will continue. And Mahomes took a beating last night, and that's not sustainable. For everything good that the Chiefs are doing, and I do, you can complain, you can call it luck, you can say that these aren't really pleasant games to watch from a Chiefs fan perspective, and I get it. They're not. They're not fun to watch the Chiefs right now until the very end when they're celebrating. The games aren't real fun. The games aren't proceeding in a way that is enjoyable to watch. I understand all of that. But they're winning, and that matters too. The fact that they have found a way over and over again to be one play better than the opposition. That matters. That's what champions do over and over again. That's why these guys are a dynasty. 15 straight one-score games is not luck. It's not a fluke. It's not an accident. It's who they are. But I don't want to know who they are without Patrick Mahomes. And with every hit he takes, we get closer to maybe having to find out. And that's a problem. This offensive line, I thought as a group, did not play well last night. You got to give some credit to the Chargers. It's unique to have two potential Hall of Famers coming off the edge, but the next opponent has one. The next opponent has one guy who's a future Hall of Famer coming off the edge, Myles Garrett. Tyler in the YouTube comments say he's going to eat the line alive next Sunday. Might be right. Might be right about that. And then you've got the Texans and Will Anderson, and you've got the Steelers, and they got a hell of a pass rush. And you got Denver in Week 18 if you need that game. And they could tee off with their pass rush. We've already seen them do it once. But it's got to get better. But it's systemic. It's not just now. We can't just point to Wanya Morris and say, well, you fix that and everything gets better. We saw last night, okay, they replaced Wanya Morris. Things got worse. Things were worse last night. That was the worst beating Mahomes has taken to date. So now it's systemic and everything has to get better. And if it means changing your identity on offense a little bit, changing the identity of your passing game, then you got to do it because nothing else matters if 15's not upright and healthy. We'll take a short break. We'll come back with the good, the bad, the ugly from the sports weekend that was. And Matt Verderame will join us in a little bit to talk all things NFL. We're just getting started on this Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. The good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was here on 580 Sports Talk. I'll give you two good. Number one, obviously, the safe and healthy delivery of the first child for our friend Brendan Dworzinski and his wife, Abby. Just, again, over the moon for them. Super excited for them to be parents and just very, very happy. I don't know if they're listening or not, but just so thrilled for the both of them and for the Dworzinski family of three. Also good from the weekend, the Washburn men. They're good, man. If you're local here, if you're listening from the Topeka area, and even if you're a little bit outside the Topeka area, you want to see a good basketball team, come out to Lee Arena this year. Watch Washburn Ichabods. They are number 3 in the country. They beat Fort Hays State on Saturday, a game where every time it felt like Hayes might make a run and get the crowd at Gross Memorial Coliseum into it, Washburn was just like, nah, no, you're not. We got this. Kept him at arm's length, like big brother on little brother, like hand on head, like hand on top of the head, and like in a cartoon, and little brother running their feet in their arms and trying to get at him, and they can't. That was Washburn to Fort Hays State on Saturday. And Fort Hays State is good. Fort Hays State was picked to finish second in the league. They're good too. Washburn was just better on the road. Tough team. Braden Shorter was named MIAA Player of the Week this week. He had 26 in the win in Hayes on Saturday. That's a really, really good team. So that is my good for the weekend. My bad for the weekend, the playoff run ending for my alma mater, the DePauw Tigers. Tough loss at Johns Hopkins on Saturday. They were down 14-9. They're running a play down the stretch. They're out of timeouts. They're inside the 5. Quarterback slips down at the 2-yard line with 14 seconds left. They're trying to get to the line, spike the ball, run one more play, and they call a false start. And the 10-second runoff ended the game. Just a gut punch of a way to end the season for my Tigers. But still very proud of them. 11-1. They were ranked top 10 in the country. And great year. One of the best teams ever at my alma mater. The ugly from the weekend, KU's effort in the first half against Mizzou. That was gross. That was unacceptable, was what it was. I'm going to explain later on in the show that there's a difference between getting beat and getting punked. And sometimes you just get beat. Nobody goes 40-0 in college basketball, right? Like, you get beat. There's nothing wrong with getting beat. You learn from getting beat. You're getting punked. That's not a fun way to spend your Sunday afternoon. And KU got punked in the first half by Mizzou. Now, they almost rallied back because Missouri, I hate how they play. It's JUCO basketball. Like, I hate how Missouri plays. But they took the fight to KU for 40 minutes, and they deserved to win that game. They punked KU. And 2 straight losses for the Jayhawks after a 7-0 start. And they are 0-2 on the road. They've gone on the road into 2 hostile environments and lost. And if Omaha and Columbia are too tough for this team, how are they going to handle Ames? Hell, how are they going to handle Manhattan? How are they going to handle Waco? Not great. We'll talk more about that a bit later on in the show. Right now, we'll take a break. Come back with Matt Verderame, our NFL insider on 580 Sports Talk. We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by Matt Verderame, NFL insider on the program, writes for Sports Illustrated, SI.com, also appears on That Football Show on KC Sports Network, and has his own subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show, where he gives you great insight into the Chiefs and the rest of the NFL. You can follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, another win for the Chiefs, another division championship for the Chiefs. Am I overstating it or oversimplifying it to say that what the Chiefs have at this point is just simply a knack for being 1 point better or one play better than whoever it is they play on any given week?
I don't think it's oversimplifying it. I think, look, they deserve an immense amount of credit for being 12-1, and they deserve an immense amount of credit for winning 9 straight AFC championships or AFC West championships. I mean, that's for people who maybe aren't as familiar with the NFL's history. Like, that is the second longest span of division titles of all time, and the NFL started in 1920. Okay, I mean, what they're doing is legitimately historic. And the Chargers are a good team. They won the game. Now, listen, I also think there's shades of gray with this. I mean, at some point, you got to actually like play offensive football that isn't offensive. You have to go out and function. But I don't think it's a coincidence that whenever the game comes down to a point where somebody's got to make a play to win the game, it's always them. I mean, outside of one run by Josh Allen, and to be fair, with the Raiders just being the Raiders, okay, they always make it. They always do it. So at some point, you got to just say, look, I mean, it's not a coincidence when they do it all the time, year after year. I mean, they've been doing this for a long time.
The Chiefs did not protect Patrick Mahomes particularly well on Sunday night. That is an understatement. 3 sacks all in the first half. A couple of those were covered sacks, but then all the quarterback hits. Those take their toll if you keep asking your quarterback to take that many hits. And it didn't feel like it was just a left tackle issue. DJ Humphries came in for Wanye Morris, didn't play great, but first game back, and hopefully the hamstring injury isn't significant. But you give a little grace for a veteran guy, but it was kind of felt like systemic, their inability to keep Mahomes upright against a good and aggressive Charger defense. What do the Chiefs have to do to make sure that number 15 stays upright and finishes the season at this rate? Because what they're doing right now is getting him hit a lot.
Yeah, look, I think it's a few things. To the Chargers' credit, they blitzed a lot in that game. They were going to hit him. I mean, there was just on some level, it was going to be what it was going to be. I mean, if you're going to blitz 5-6 guys, you're going to hit the quarterback. And they did. They got home. They took their chances. And I think they basically said, your receivers aren't any good. And we have no fear of them. And the Chiefs were not able to consistently make them pay. Now, the other side of the coin is when the Chiefs had enough guys to block, I thought Juwan Taylor was just abominable in that game. Like, you're getting paid $20 million a year. You got to play well. I don't care what the reasoning is. I don't care. You're not on the injury report. You've been there for a year and a half. Figure it out. Block somebody. Humphries in the first half was terrible. But again, you're asking a guy who's not played football in 11 months and doesn't know your playbook to just step in there against Khalil Mack. Like, I got to be fair. I thought he played a lot better in the second half of the game. To watch, like, I thought he actually looked like what you'd want him to look like. And for the record, I thought in the second half, where ironically the offense did nothing, I thought they played better up front. I mean, they gave up 11 quarterback hits in the first half, just insane. They gave up 2 in the second half. So it got better. And some of that was the Chargers were just going to hit them. But yeah, they need Taylor to play like an actual right tackle. He enough of this with the penalties, giving up too many hits. Like, at some point, there needs to be some accountability, and he has just frankly not played anywhere near the level he needs to play at.
Defensively for the Chiefs, they got dinged up a little bit down the stretch in the secondary. It looks like they are going to bring Steven Nelson back, who had retired before the season. He's going to sign with the Chiefs today. Do you think he can help them? Do you think he can be somebody who maybe stabilizes some of the issues that have ailed the Chiefs in the defensive backfield?
No, I got to be honest. It's funny. I feel two ways about this, and they're diametrically opposed at the same time. On one hand, I remember when Steven Nelson was with the Chiefs years ago, and I always just thought he was kind of, he was fine. I thought he was fine. I thought he was an average corner. And they left, went to Pittsburgh, and I thought he was fine. They went to Houston. Now, I thought he played his best football of his career in Houston. He played a lot of press man there. He was very, very good at it. I'm not the biggest Pro Football Focus guy in the world, but if you like PFF, you like their grading, he was 9th in football last year. He was one spot behind Trent McDuffie. He played really well for them. And to me, that does match with what I watched. I thought he played really well. And I think Houston misses him, quite frankly, this year. And I was very surprised he retired. He fits what they do. But people may not even realize this. He wasn't there when Spagnuolo was there. He was only there when Bob Sutton was there. That's how long ago it was. So he comes into a system now that really fits what he wants to get on the line of scrimmage. He wants to be physical. I actually think that it's a really good situation for him. I think he can help them. I think it's probably going to take him a few games to get back in the flow of things or anything else. But, yes, I think he can be a plus player for them where they really need a plus player.
Matt Verderame is our guest, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Again, you can find him on social media on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Matt, let's go elsewhere, look around the league. The great game yesterday was Rams-Bills, and the Bills end up falling short, stubbing their toe a little bit against the Rams. A blocked punt touchdown proves to be the difference in a 44-42 win for Los Angeles. Did the Rams expose something with regards to the Bills' defense, or do you look at that game as a bit more of a one-off?
Well, I think it's a little of both. Look, the Bills are small up front defensively, and the Rams just bullied them all over the field. The Rams basically said, we're just going to run when we want to, and we feel like if we can do that, we can keep our quarterback clean. And we know you're going to sit in zone coverage all game because I think there's 3 or 4 teams that play more zone coverage than Buffalo, so that you know what you're getting. And the Bills sat in zone, and Stafford just killed them. Threw all over the place. But I really thought the story of that game, which I don't think is getting talked about nearly enough, was the ending of it. The Bills had the ball down 9 points, just over a minute to go. First and goal at the 1 after a defensive pass interference call. And they ran Allen on a sneak. He didn't get it. And McDermott runs down and immediately calls a timeout. The second he called that timeout, that game was over. That game was done. They were going to score, which they did on the next play. But they were never going to get the onside kick because nobody gets onside kicks these days. And so if he had not called the timeout, let's say they just got back to the line, got in quickly, scored with 50 seconds left, they could have kicked it deep. They had 3 timeouts. And if they stopped the Rams, they're getting the ball back. All they need is a field goal. And instead, he blows his timeout. This is why I never believed in the Bills in January. That game. The way that game ended is exactly why. I think the Bills right now, they're playing better than the Chiefs. They are. They're absolutely playing better football in Kansas City. And that ending, that timeout call is why when the Chiefs play them in the playoffs, I will pick Kansas City to win the game. Because with all the Chiefs' flaws, they would never do that. And McDermott was so unaware. And then, by the way, for people who don't know this, the punt return, the Bills, it's the last play of the game. The clock is expiring. The Bills didn't field the punt. And after the game, McDermott says, well, we didn't field it because we didn't have enough guys on the field. We only had 9 guys. I mean, what are we talking about? That's the kind of stuff for all the Chiefs' flaws that would never happen. But with Buffalo, it happens all the time in big spots. And that's why I think they're a talented team. They're a fun team. I have no faith in them in big spots.
From mismanagement at the end of the game to some controversial game management ended up working out in favor of the Detroit Lions in their Thursday night win over the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
Stripped to the context, what did you think about the way Dan Campbell handled the end of that game? And what do you think generally about the way the Lions handle those game theory situations?
I think it's all fun and well, and everybody can make memes until it doesn't work in a playoff game. And then you lose. And we saw that happen last year in January. I'm all for being aggressive. They went for it on their own 30-yard line and didn't get it. And that immediately led to 7 points. And then they went for it in a spot that, I understand why he did. I get it. To be fair to Dan Campbell, I know what his thought process was, and I can respect it. I still think there is going to come a game in the playoffs where they're going to do that, and they're not going to get it. And it's going to cost them. I just think you have to be realistic about how you're playing. I think overall, I like the Campbell's aggressive. and he's consistent. I'll grant the man, he's very consistent. It's how they play. It's how he wants to attack their team. Fine. But I think there's a borderline that he veers over at times from aggressive to wild. And I thought in that game, there were a couple of those right on the line that, okay, I actually had more of a problem with him going on his own 30, 31-yard line than I did at the end. I just think in that spot, you got to punt the ball. Like, you can't just give the ball up there. I thought it was a mistake.
Couple of more questions for Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. They didn't win yesterday, but the Carolina Panthers competitive again, playing some pretty good football here in the last month. You back in on Bryce Young?
I'll wait and see, but I tell you, I give Dave Canales a hell of a round of applause. I mean, that team, they are not talented. You know, Chuba Hubbard, Adam Thielen, I mean, that team has nobody on it. And you know what? They're fighting. They're playing hard. You know, I thought it was really instructive. They lost that game, and on the fourth down pass where it was essentially sealed as incomplete, they show Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen slams his helmet down. Like, there's a guy who, if anybody on that team could just be collecting a check, right? I mean, he's making $7 million a year. You know, he's a really good career. Like, nobody's ever going to play. He cares. Like, he really believed they were going to win that game. I was like, you know what? That team's on the right track. Like, if a guy like that cares that much, they're going to start to win. Like that, they believe they should be winning. And I give them a lot of credit. You know, I think Bryce Young, to his credit, has played a better. He's looked really competent the last 3 weeks. So I think Canales is doing a hell of a job. I think he's turning that team around. And they're going to be tough out here this last month.
All right, last two questions for you, Matt. You got about 30 seconds per answer here. First, is it time for the Falcons to pull the plug on Kirk Cousins and go to Michael Penix?
In theory, yes. The problem is he's guaranteed basically $45 million next year, and you can't get rid of him. Like, he's just going to be there. So if you do that, you're going to have to sit there and hold a clipboard with $45 million. But I mean, Cousins has been so bad this last month. If you want to make the playoffs, I think you have to at least strongly consider it.
And last one, and I'm going to be a little self-indulgent since it's just me in the chair. Winners of 4 straight and in first place in the NFC West. Are you starting to believe in what Mike McDonald's cooking there in Seattle?
Yeah. I mean, they boat raced the Cardinals twice in the last 3 weeks. And, you know, look, I think the Rams, a huge win. They're right there. You know, that division might very well come down to when Seattle and the Rams get together at SoFi here later this year. I mean, that might be it. The Rams beat them in Seattle because the Seahawks turn the favor. But, yeah, I mean, right now, if you're the Seahawks, you feel really good. You feel like you're coming along at the right time.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated. Read his work online, si.com. Check out his subscriber-only Patreon, The Matt Verderame Show, and also listen to him on That Football Show on the KC Sports Network. And, of course, catch him here Mondays on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We will take a short time out. When we come back, we'll wrap up this first hour of 580 Sports Talk. 3:55, just wrapping up this first of 3 hours today on 580 Sports Talk. With you till 6 o'clock, then we'll have Chiefs Kingdom, followed by some Monday Night Football tonight. From Westwood 1, we'll have the broadcast as the Bengals take on the Cowboys. I'll be honest with you, folks. I'm going to watch the Simpsons broadcast. You guys know, if you've listened to for any amount of time, that I am a Simpsons fan. Seasons like 1 through 13. I haven't watched a new Simpsons episode in like a decade, if not longer. But a big Simpsons fan, and they're doing the Simpsonified. I don't know what they're calling it. The broadcast on, I think it's on ESPN Plus or Disney Plus, and they're going to have Simpsons characters representing the players on the field, like digitally. And I'm all in for that. I'm all the way in for something silly like that. It's exactly the treatment that a Cowboys game in 2024 deserves. So I'll be watching some of that for sure. Game balls for the Chiefs. I give mine to Trent McDuffie. Thought he was really good on the back end. Thought he was the best player on the back end for the Chiefs last night. Prevented a couple of big plays. Played another really solid game. Spencer's game ball goes to Turk Wharton. 2 sacks for Big Turk. Man, really good game for him. He's had an excellent season up front for the Chiefs. His development has really been one of the nice stories of this season for the Chiefs. Coming up in the final 2 hours of this program, we're going to get to some college basketball, the difference between getting beaten and getting punked. You can see it in what happened to K-State Saturday and KU on Sunday. Plus, more NFL Week 15 and Chiefs reaction. What is wrong with you? Our 580 Sports Talk headlines, in which I will explain why I'm wearing a Pittsburgh Pirates hat today. But we'll start the 4 o'clock hour with the weekend that was in college football. KU and K-State news, championship week, and the football playoff bracket is set. Hang with us. Hour number 2 next on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 on a Victory Monday here on 580 Sports Talk. Hi, hello. How the heck are you? Hope you're enjoying your afternoon in the capital city or wherever you're listening from today. Thank you so much for being with us on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and a special welcome to those watching us in living color on our video stream. We are on YouTube live and archived. If you're missing us live and you're catching us on the tape delay, appreciate you watching us on 580 Sports Talk, our YouTube channel, also on Facebook at WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis has joined the chat. He is
I am here.
Back behind the board for the final 2 hours of the show. Spencer, what's the deal with the hat? I have questions about the hat. Can you explain to our non-video viewers your hat, please?
Was anybody in the comments asking about it, or you are?
I'm asking about it. I saw your hat, and I said, I'm going to ask Spencer about the hat.
All right.
Spencer,
about
the hat.
So Britt Zweigert, Britt Z,
yes,
as most people know him on the air, he gets packages from music promoters.
Sure. Yes.
And
we are a music radio station.
Yes, there's one down the hall.
Yeah, we got two
down the hall.
In fact, really 3, but Jack FM's just like a room. You know,
Jack runs itself.
Yeah, we keep the Jack voice guy in like a broom closet.
Yeah,
we bring him out every 15 minutes to talk, and then we send him back to the broom closet. Anyway, but continue.
So he gets these packages from promoters. So coming up there's this country radio seminar.
Okay,
country music, basically like country musicians that are up and coming, try to get on the radio next year.
Sure.
And that's, if you're listening to a country music station, that's how you get, like, this is Luke Bryan, and you're listening to the big 94.5 country.
Sure, yeah.
That's how all that comes about, is this big conference in Nashville. Well, he got one from this guy, Chase Matthew, who I like a couple of his songs. He has a song named Darlin'.
And that's what the hat says.
Yes, the hat says Darlin'.
Walking around today with Darlin' on your forehead.
Yeah. The back of it does, in fact, say his artist.
Oh, it does? Okay.
Or somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. Right there over the back of the snapback. Yeah. I guess it's been a trend, like the large print, like the big letter hats lately. Some of them are like they take out the vowels of whatever it is that they're trying to say.
This is a song name.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm wearing an old school Pittsburgh Pirates hat. It's got a letter on it. Like, I can't say hats with letters on them are stupid. Like, that's every hat.
I don't know if you know the new trend in hats.
I don't.
The new trend is you wear a city name. But it's flipped upside
down. Yeah, I think that's stupid too.
That's the new hat trend.
People look ridiculous wearing that. Like, what's the point? Like, they're going to read it right? You walk around, you stand on your head all the time?
I don't know. I just know that's a new hat trend.
All right. I clearly have not been keeping up with new trends in haberdashery, but I did want to shout that out. You can see Spencer's hat and my hat. Again, if you're watching the video stream, 580 Sports Talk is a YouTube channel. WIBW
To finish
News.
it out, though, Britt, he says, you're a hat guy, right? You like country music, right? You like this guy? You know, like, yeah. He's like, you want this hat? I said, sure. And I sat on my desk, and then I was rushing this morning, so I forgot to grab a hat. So I feel...
So there you go.
I have loss of identity if I don't wear a hat sometimes.
I respect that. I understand that. I typically will not... If you watch the YouTube, you'll see me wear a hat every day unless I've got to go game to go do or cover, and then I try to look professional when I do that. Try to act like a pro here and there and not wear the hat. But yes, we are both behatted this afternoon on the live video stream. Still to come on the program today, we're gonna get to the weekend in college basketball. Not a real good one here in the Sunflower State. K-State loses at St. John's. A loss to some extent that if you're K-State, you kind of have to charge to the game because some things are a little bigger than basketball. But at the same time, K-State wasn't real competitive in that game, and they played 2 Power 4 opponents and gotten smoked in both of those games. It's kind of a worrying trend so far for K-State. But at least they just got beat. They didn't get punked like KU did. KU got smoked at Missouri. And I know that the final score was only a 9-point deficit. I'm hard-pressed to remember a worse half of basketball for a Bill Self-coach team than the first half in Columbia on Sunday. That was bizarre how bad it was. And give full credit to Mizzou, who wanted it more. And I hate to lean on that particular rhetorical crutch when you talk about games because I've never watched a game and felt like, oh, the other team doesn't care if they win or lose, unless like there's really no incentive to go win. If it's like the Chiefs have sat all their starters in week 18, yeah, they care a little bit less than the other team. But I've never been a big believer in wanting it more. But man, Mizzou wanted it more on Sunday. Man, I don't know a better way to describe what I saw in the first half, in particular, the first 25 minutes of that basketball game.
A zoomed out view of this, without getting into the nitty gritty details. I think when you look at both games and you look at both teams, we'll get into more details later. I just think it's a lot of these new players are finding a little trouble getting cohesive with the guys that have already been on the team.
I definitely think there's a lot of truth to that. And I think
it's a way zoomed out view. That's just my thought.
In particular, I think that has stood out for KU in their last two games, really stood out on Sunday. It is not good with this high-profile transfer class for KU that the best of them on Sunday was Diggy Coit. And that's not a knock on Diggy Coit. He just shouldn't be the best of those transfer players on any given day. That should not be the case. So we will get into that in much greater detail a bit later on this hour. We'll also have our first round of What is Wrong with You for the week as well. But did want to talk some college football because it was a big weekend of college football news. Today, of course, is the first day or the last day that you can jump into the transfer portal. So today is a big portal day, and there are a lot of players who are entering the transfer portal. A couple of players for KU, a couple of players for K-State. I'll be honest, I don't think there's anything to really get fussed about as far as departures for either program to this point, and we can discuss that a little bit later on. We'll get to the college football playoff a little bit as well because we have our first 12-team field announced after what was an interesting championship weekend, I will say. Not a lot of like classic games. We got great finish in the ACC game. We got a great finish in what was kind of a dog's breakfast of an SEC title game. Pac-12 game was fun, but it never felt like Oregon wasn't going to win. And then there were a lot of blowouts, including in Arlington, where Arizona State just stomped Iowa State in the face repeatedly for 60 minutes. That was pretty surprising, and it should really frustrate. Like, you watch that game, you got to be so frustrated if you're Kansas State. Because Iowa State was such mid by the end of the year, and K-State should have beaten them in Ames, and they didn't do it. And that just gets more frustrating by the day, I think, for Kansas State a little bit. But let's start with the Wildcats, because the big news for them is their season, of course, is not over. They are going bowling. I got some fun trivia for you here, Spencer. Are you up for a little trivia?
Let's go.
All right. So Kansas State's going to Phoenix for the Rate Bowl, the day after Christmas, December 26th. It is a 4:30 Central kickoff, so 3:30 Mountain Time in Phoenix. They will be taking on Rutgers. Second time those two teams have met ever. The other time was in the Texas Bowl in 2006, a Rutgers blowout. K-State now has appeared in the Rate Bowl more than any other team in the bowl game's history. This is a bowl game that started back in 1989. And it has had 5 other corporate-sponsored names in its history. If you count the same sponsor with a slightly different sponsor name as the same name, the Rate Bowl has had 6 names. Kansas State has played in the game under now 5 of those 6 names. So, Spencer, how many names of the Rate Bowl can you guess?
Guaranteed.
It was the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, and now is just the Rate Bowl.
Also, I have to say, I said this last night to my girlfriend, and she said the what bowl?
The Rate Bowl.
Yeah, I had to say "tuh" at the end of it because if you say it kind of fast, it doesn't sound great.
Yes, Guaranteed Rate. They assist you with low-cost home purchases and refinance mortgages. Great service and fast closings. That's from the Google description of the link to their website, rate.com. I guess that begs the question, are they going to change the name of the White Sox stadium next year to Rate Field? Because it's been Guaranteed Rate Field for the last few years.
Yeah. Anyway. I think I know one, but then that's it. And it's the former name before Guaranteed Rate.
What was that?
Wasn't it the Cheez-It Bowl?
It was the Cheez-It Bowl, yeah.
But I don't know anything
And that's the only iteration of the game that the Kansas State hasn't played in, because it was only the Cheez-It Bowl for 2 years.
I just remember because they had like the Cheez-It brand stuff, the promotional items that they had for it were wild. And then then I saw the next year, it's now like a tax thing or whatever it is, whatever you said guaranteed is.
Also, the 2018 Cheez-It Bowl may have been the worst American football game in history. That was TCU beating Cal 10-7 in overtime. It was only the Cheez-It Bowl for 2 years. Before that,
I'm looking now.
It was the Cactus Bowl. In the last ever Cactus Bowl, K-State beat UCLA 35-17. That was when Alex Delton played his best game as a Wildcat, and we all kind of thought the future was Alex Delton, and the future was not Alex Delton. Spoiler alert. That ended up not being the case. Prior to that, for 2 seasons, it was the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. In the second and final year of that bowl game's name existence, K-State beat Michigan 31-14. I was doing radio in Wichita at that time. I was doing morning drive radio on a station in Wichita, so I was talking a lot of Cats. And I remember at the end of that year stating with full confidence, because I had watched a lot of Michigan football, I said K-State's going to drag Michigan. And I had people call the show and tell me I was out of my mind. It was not a particularly great K-State team in 2013. They went 7-5. They were 5-4 in league play. They didn't have any like terrible losses, but it was the year that they opened by losing at home to North Dakota State. So the vibes just were never real good all year. But I insisted they were going to drag Michigan, and I had people tell me I was a moron, literally. And somebody call me and tell me I was a moron. And K-State won that game 31-14. Anyway, Ryan on the YouTube live chat is participating. He's got a couple of the old names as well. Good job, Ryan. And thanks for being part of the YouTube live chat. The first name was the Copper Bowl. K-State went to the Copper Bowl in 1993. They housed Wyoming 52-17. I've got a K-State Copper Bowl shirt from our friends at Home Field Apparel. It was also the Insight.com Bowl and the Insight Bowl. Kansas State played in the Insight.com Bowl in 2001, lost to Syracuse. I believe that was a Donovan McNabb Syracuse team. No, that was Dwight Freeney. Dwight Freeney was on that Syracuse team. They lost to Syracuse 26-3 in the Insight.com Bowl back in 2001. So K-State playing in this game for the 5th time. They are 3-1 all time in this bowl game. They played it at the Copper Bowl, the Insight.com Bowl, the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, the Cactus Bowl, and now as the Rape Bowl.
I had to look because then I looked this up and it told me the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl.
Yes, the corporate sponsors have changed over time as well.
Also, the dating of the game has changed. In 2016, the game changed from the 15-16 season, I believe. It changed from a
there were 2
pre-January 1.
Yeah, there were 2 years where it was played in January. Yeah. The Cactus Bowl was January 2015 and January 2016. So 2016, there were 2 Cactus Bowls. How lucky were we to get 2 Cactus Bowls in the same year? Yes, also lots of different corporate sponsors. The Cactus Bowl was sponsored by Ticket City and by Motel 6. The Copper Bowl was sponsored by Domino's Pizza and by Weiserlock. And now the sponsors just kind of built into the name of the game. So K-State's going to the Rape Bowl. They will play Rutgers. I think they opened as a 7-point favorite. Don't quote me on that, but I think the K-State has opened as a favorite in that game, and they have a chance to end the season with some positive vibes. Now, Rutgers, I don't think is particularly good. They went 7-5. They are a run first and also a run second team. And K-State's run defense was pretty good throughout the year. So if K-State shows up to play on the defensive side of the ball, I think they'll keep Rutgers in check, and I think they'll beat them. And if you win this game, you end the season with some positive vibes, and that is literally all you can ask for from a mid-tier bowl appearance. Like, you think about K-State's bowl history in recent years. They had good vibes coming out of that Cactus Bowl in 2017, because it did. It felt like, hey, maybe Alex Delton is him. He was not him. K-State went 5-7 the next year. It was Bill Snyder's last. That wasn't a lot of fun. I remember the vibes being kind of rancid after Chris Kleiman's first team lost to Navy in the Liberty Bowl, even though that was a good Navy team. Vibes were not great. But think about the rest of the bowl history under Chris Kleiman. The win in the Texas Bowl over LSU made you feel really good about where the offense was going under Colin Klein. The win last year in the Pop-Tarts Bowl made you feel good about where the offense was going to go with Avery Johnson at the helm. I don't know what the long-term outlook will be for K-State following a win in this game, but at the very least, it gives you a chance to finish the season with nine wins and some good vibes. So that's the off-field news for K-State from the weekend. For KU, obviously not going to a bowl game. A lot of upheaval. That's not how you say that word. Upheaval. Jesus. Upheaval on the coaching staff. New offensive and
it all
defensive
came
coordinator.
this weekend.
Yes, it all came we talked about on Friday that Jeff Grimes leaving, going to be the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin.
Well, I think then it was just he was in discussions. It wasn't even official then.
Moved very fast.
Yeah.
Jim Zabrowski promoted. He was the co-offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. He's the new offensive coordinator. By all accounts, extremely popular and really well-liked and really well-regarded as a coach. I think this is an upgrade for KU at offensive coordinator with respect to Jeff Grimes. I think sometimes when you have a co-offensive coordinator position, that's too many cooks. I don't think it benefited K-State this past year to have co-offensive coordinators. And I wonder if it maybe impacted KU, where previously, like, it was Andy Kotelnicki's show. Like, Jim Zabrowski may have been co-OC by name, but it was Andy Kotelnicki's show. Now it'll be Jim Zabrowski's show. And I'm really interested to see what that looks like. The new defensive coordinator after Brian Borland announced his retirement from coaching is DK McDonald, who has been in the college game. He was on Matt Campbell's staff at Toledo and Iowa State. Then he was on the Philadelphia Eagles staff for a while in the NFL before coming back to the college game. This past year, he was the defensive backs coach for
big.
KU.
I remember in the summer talking to Swain about him, and he was a big get for them to help develop the two big DBs they had this season in Mello Dotson and why am I blanking? Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, there you go. So again, well thought of. He's never been a defensive coordinator. This is going to be a new look for KU on defense, but I think it felt like there needed to be changes, and there have been changes. And it's internal promotions. Sometimes that works out, sometimes not so much, but changes at both coordinator spots for Kansas. I think those were necessary after the disappointment of 2024.
Well, they were both technically had that title as a co-person this past season.
Right. Yeah. He was also a co-defensive coordinator when he was brought along, probably with the understanding that Brian Borland wasn't going to coach forever. He'd been in coaching for 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, he'd been with Lance at his previous stops as the DC.
Going all the way back to Whitewater.
Yeah.
Yeah. He'd been with Lance Leipold a very long time. One position that will not change for the Jayhawks next year, quarterback. Jalen Daniels announcing that he will return for his 6th season of eligibility. How do you get 6 years? Your 4 regular years, you got the bonus COVID year, and he gets a medical red shirt for only playing 3 games 2 seasons ago. So Jalen Daniels is coming back. I thought it was very funny that Pete Thamel of ESPN was the first national reporter to break this news and referred to it as Jalen Daniels has agreed to a new deal to come back to KU at 2025. Just like talk about a moment that really kind of reflects like where we are now in college athletics. Not he has agreed to use his final year of eligibility. No, he agreed to a new deal. Like it's Michael Conforto signing a 1-year deal with the Dodgers. Like Jalen Daniels has a new deal to return. Certainly some NIL considerations you can imagine are part of that. None of that's been made public, and I can't imagine that much of it will be. But Jalen Daniels will be back. I'm of 2 schools of thought about this. Number one, I understand that Jalen Daniels wants to write a different end to both his KU career and his college career. I don't think he's within range of breaking any school records. Like he's not going to get to yards and touchdowns. Todd Reesing has those records in the upper deck. Even a Heisman Trophy year from Jalen Daniels, he's not going to get to Reesing's yard number, and he's not going to probably get to his touchdown number. So there's nothing of that to chase. I do, though, look at what happened to some would-be Big 12 contenders this year who were leaning on veteran quarterbacks with injury histories, and what happened to their seasons when those guys got hurt.
Utah. What
happened to Utah when Cam Rising couldn't get out there, and what happened to Oklahoma State when Alan Bowman couldn't perform. And it's a fine line between good and old. And now I think that Jalen Daniels is more good than he is old relative to college football, of course. Like, he's not a graybeard or anything, but he'll be an older college quarterback, 6 year of eligibility. He'll be young for a 6-year guy. Remember, he was 17 when he debuted, but he'll be fairly experienced, one of the most experienced quarterbacks in the conference coming into next year. And that's a good thing for KU to have experience back and to have a guy who could, at his best, be an all-conference caliber player. But
also a player that is not coming off of injury, because this whole last offseason was, is he ready? Is he ready? We think he's ready. And then it kind of, when the season started, he didn't really look ready. And he progressed as the season went along. I think that this offseason could be really good for him.
And that's why it's a little unfair for me to make the Cam Rising comparison.
Yeah.
Because Rising was coming off of an injury. And Daniels just completed a healthy season. And even if he wasn't at his healthiest, at his best when the season began, he played much better football in the second half of this past season. And if that's the Jalen Daniels that KU gets for 12 games next year, they will surely go back to a bowl. They'll have one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. But it is a bit of a challenge to have a highly thought of quarterback in Isaiah Marshall that you brought into the program, and now he's going to have to wait another year to get on the field. And how do you manage that if you're Lance Leipold and the coaching staff, where, yeah, you got his redshirt year, but now it's going to be 2 years before he gets to play? How does he handle that? And for Jalen, I think there's probably, and Mark B in the YouTube comment says, I'm not sure that Jalen Daniels is NFL material, and that may be the case. It may be that Jalen Daniels has been told, hey, the NFL thing is probably not going to happen for you. This might be as valuable as you are as a football player in your life, and you should strike while the iron is hot and get what money you can. And I will never, ever blame a college athlete for cashing in, ever. No fault whatsoever. But that might be the impetus for him coming back. I think if there was a chance that even he'd be a third-day pick, go get some NFL checks, go make some real money and do it before your body betrays you any further than it did when it cost you the bulk of the previous 2 seasons. So fascinated to see where it goes from here for Jalen Daniels as the quarterback of the Jayhawks. And I think it's more good than bad, but the experience of some teams in the conference leaning on older quarterbacks that didn't work out for them this past year, that has me maybe just a little bit wary. Maybe that's too cynical, but I'm a little bit wary as far as that goes. Mentioned today is a big day for the transfer portal. You have to make your decisions today to decide whether or not you're going to return to your school. For now, this is the first portal date. There's another one, of course, in the spring.
Is there still a rule for coaching changes? Like, is that in football or is that just in?
I think that's in football.
Okay.
I think that's in football as well.
Because you have 30 days from the.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
From the coaching change. I think that is correct. The big name for KU's DJ Warner, who was a big deal defensive end recruit, part of this most recent recruiting class, did get on the field some as a freshman, but frankly didn't make a lot of impact. And he announced that he is transferring. It's a loss in the sense that you feel like there's still some upside there for sure. And he was a guy who was really gung-ho on being a Jayhawk. Like, of all of the commits to this most recent class, he was the one that was most like forward on social media, most like outwardly excited about coming to KU and helping to build something. And it's disappointing to lose a player like that, even if, again, he didn't flash in the way you would have hoped that a player with his recruiting pedigree would have flashed in his true freshman season. For K-State, 2 names that we know of note are going portaling. One is Carver Willis, the 5th-year offensive tackle out of Durango, Colorado. He was a starting right tackle this season. I thought he was fine. Got 1 more year of eligibility, wants to use it. K-State probably told him, hey, that's great, but we're going to turn the page. They've got 2 guys who are going to be redshirt freshmen next year, both from in-state, Gus Hawkins, Cade Massey, who they might want to get a look at tackle next year and get a little younger on that offensive line. So I'm sure that was a mutual consent transfer there, Carver Willis. I'm less certain that's the case with Trey Spivey. That was a bit of a surprise when I heard over the weekend that Trey Spivey was going into the transfer portal after he really came on and especially in the Cincinnati game, looked like maybe he was developing a nice connection with Avery Johnson. It was actually around that same time there were lots of reports about Jace Brown going into the transfer portal. the wide receiver who was the most prolific wide receiver during most of the regular season for K-State. Well, now things have flipped a little bit. Spivey's in the portal, and it sounds like Jace Brown's going to stay. At least that is the way that the wind appears to be blowing, that Jace Brown's going to stay in Manhattan and come back, and there might be some NIL dollars that are going to come his way next year to convince him to try and return and keep that rapport going with a guy who he is close friends with in Avery Johnson. So
there was one guy for Kansas. I don't know if you saw this, but he got a little bit of run during some games this year. Running back Savion Morrison's entering the portal as well.
Now that is intriguing because he did line up to maybe be the number one running back next year with the graduation of Devin Neal. But there are a lot of running backs in that room.
Yeah.
And
he just saw playing time this year.
Yeah.
So
lots of opportunity, I think, for guys to step up. I know they really like Harry Stewart. They've also added LaShawn Williams already in the portal out of Iowa. He'll be in for spring practice. So maybe Savion Morrison seeing a little bit of writing on the wall. Maybe they're recruiting over him. So one last note, Jacob Parrish, the starting cornerback for K-State, announcing today on social media he will be declaring for the 2024 NFL or 2025 NFL draft. I don't know what that means for his bowl game availability, if he'll opt out of that or not. He hasn't said, but good for Jacob. I think he's an NFL caliber corner. I thought he was at times the only good player in the K-State secondary this past season, and that'll be a big loss for Chris Kleiman and Joe Klanderman's defense on the back end. We'll step aside for a timeout. When we come back, we got What Is Wrong With You, and then What Is Wrong With K-State and KU on the hardwood. That's all coming up. We continue on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. It's What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. A brand new week as we get into December and pick our final monthly champion for our Tournament of Failed Champions at the end of the year. 2 new stories today. I will go first, and we're going to meet 30-year-old Liliana Goodson, who flew to Australia with a gold-plated pistol in her luggage.
Ballsy.
Yeah, she's going to jail for that for a year, despite claiming she brought it with her for protection. This is a year of Australian jail, not a year of American jail. She pled guilty to charges of illegally importing an unauthorized firearm and illegally importing ammunition. She was initially arrested over a year ago after customs officers uncovered the 24-karat gold-plated pistol. What is this, a James Bond villain? Is it the woman with the golden gun? Like, why?
I guess
This
so.
$3,000 gun. The court was told that Goodson had come to Australia to attend clown school. They got a good clown school in Australia?
I guess so.
Clown college. She went to Australia for clown college and brought her gun. When asked at the airport if she was carrying any prohibited items with her, Goodson claimed she was not. What about the gun in your bag? She was asked by a customs officer. Goodson replied, "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that." A review of Goodson's phone revealed she had searched online, quote, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?" And also set a calendar entry with a note reminding her to, quote, "Put gun in suitcase." When asked where she planned to store the gun while she was in Australia, she indicated under a vehicle's passenger seat. Goodson told
That's
police she was actually scared to shoot the gun and hoped simply producing it would be enough to deter potential threats. If that didn't do it, I would probably just pistol whip, Goodson was quoted as having said. The court was told in recent years Goodson was using psychedelic drugs, synthetic cannabis, and crystal methamphetamines.
Well, there you go.
Going to clown school, brought a gun. Look, man, I don't know if you read the news, but there's some other countries don't play about the guns. Like,
yeah,
we're a little more permissive about the guns around these parts than they are in some other places. And she's going to jail for a year in Australia. But also, how did she Google, "Can I have a gun in my suitcase?" and not see that the answer is no, you can't. Anyway, what's your story?
a Florida man was arrested after his Craigslist post searching for crack was answered by an undercover investigator.
That'll do it.
The suspect, identified as Anthony Mata, wrote in his post, "New to the area, looking for ice or crack," the Holmes County Sheriff Office said. An investigator posed as a seller of the substance, responded to the ad, and set up a meeting with him. He negotiated to purchase an 8-ball of methamphetamine for $80. After finalizing the deal, the investigator met him at the agreed-upon location, but when the suspect and the undercover investigator exchanged money for the drugs, more deputies took action and apprehended him. He was charged with purchase of methamphetamine and unlawful use of two-way communication device. His companion, Stephen Hornsby, was also arrested for being a principal to purchase methamphetamine. So I'm assuming his buddy was there.
He said, I'm new in town. Anybody got a line on some illegal drugs?
Yeah.
And then, like, you got to know, man. You got to know that if you put it out that publicly, like, you just have to go to the seedy looking bar and ask around. You can't
post on a public forum like Craigslist.
Yeah, you can't do that. Oh,
No.
That's wild. That is amazing. That's a really good story. I don't know that it beats the woman with the golden gun, though.
Yeah, I don't know. She looked.
Are you carrying anything prohibited with you? No, of course not. How about that gun? Oh, right. The gun. Are y'all not cool with that? I really needed it. See, because I'm going to clown school. I'm worried. I got an 8 p.m. class on miming, and I'm really scared about walking back to my car. I got to have the heater on me.
I'm not going to shoot it. I don't know how to shoot it. Really. I really don't know.
It.
I'm scared. I'll just pistol whip them.
I love the idea of setting a calendar entry to remind you on your phone. Hey, remember to take your gun on the airplane. Surely there will be no consequences. We good with that one winning?
Yeah.
The woman with the golden gun, our winner on What Is Wrong With You. When we come back, we're talking college hoops. That's next on 580 Sports Talk. .445 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you. Appreciate our YouTube live chatters. Jump on in if you're watching the video, youtube.com. The channel is 580 Sports Talk. Interact with us, interact with your fellow listeners. 2 basketball games over the weekend. Kansas State Saturday, KU Sunday. So we'll start with K-State, who ran into a bit of a buzzsaw in the form of the St. John Red Storm on Saturday. And look, there's an extent to this where you just gotta charge one to the game if you're K-State. Earlier last week, the longtime legendary head coach of the St. John's men's basketball program, Lou Carnesecca, passed away. He was 99 years old. He had been around forever. And he was the coach in when the Big East was the Big East. And St. John's was in its pomp as a program through the 80s. It was Louis Carnesecca on the sideline with his famous loud sweaters. And he's a legend. He's a college basketball legend. Like, they don't make them like Lou Carnesecca anymore. And he passed away earlier last week. And as soon as Rick Pitino came out in the Louis Carnesecca sweater, I said K-State's not winning this game. Some things are just a little bit bigger than basketball. I say it's not happening for K-State today.
Nope.
It's just this is St. John's day. This is Lou Carnesecca's day. This is St. John's day. And so to a certain extent, hey, look, you go on the road, you get beat. It'd be like that sometimes. Like we said, losses to Power 4 teams don't keep you out of the NCAA tournament unless there get to be too many of them. And that is a problem that K-State may end up having to contend with. If they don't, now they're looking at having to probably be better than 500 in Big 12 play if they want to go to the NCAA tournament. But the game was never really competitive. It was fool's gold in the first half. Brendan Housen was Steph Curry for 20 minutes, and that was the only reason K-State was even in the game, never mind ahead. Didn't defend very well in the second half, gave up 50-plus points, made KU transfer Zuby Ejiofor look like Moses Malone. Not very good, not good enough in the post. They needed more from Ugo and Yenso, I thought, in that game, and then he was able to give them because he's their only true big that can bang, and he's still coming back from that eye infection. CJ Jones gave them less than nothing. I think it's probably time to start giving Doug McDaniel 30, 35 minutes a game. CJ Jones can help you in some capacity, but your best five, Doug McDaniel's the point, and you got to play your best five more than Jerome Tang's doing right now. It's another opportunity for a good non-con win that's gone by the wayside and just increases K-State's urgency in Big 12 play if they're going to get back to the NCAA tournament. But that was just getting beat. Sometimes you just get beat. Nobody goes 40-0 in college basketball. You go out and you get beat. It happens. It's one thing to get beat. KU didn't just get beat on Sunday in Columbia. They got punked by Dennis Gates YMCA JUCO basketball. They got punked. Missouri played so much harder in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes of the game than Kansas did. And KU was sloppy, disjointed, flat. Any negative word you can think of, it applies. They turned the ball over 15 times in the first half. I don't know that I've ever seen a Bill Self team do that. 15 turnovers in a half. I don't mean to pick on Washburn women's basketball. I don't say this to be mean, but Washburn women's basketball had a tough outing on Saturday. They went out to play the 7th-ranked team in the country, Fort Hays State. They were down big at halftime. They played a much better second half, but Washburn's super young. They're without their best player, and they were down big at halftime. They only turned the ball over 12 times in the first half. 15 first-half turnovers. With all of the veterans, one thing if you've got a bunch of freshmen and sophomores out there and the road environment is too much for you and you're frazzled and the other team is pressing and you just get in a rhythm where you're anti-rhythm where you're throwing the ball away. No, these are 23, 24-year-olds throwing the ball all over the place like it's third-grade rec ball. It was much better for KU, obviously, in the second half. Water found its level. Mizzou was playing and shooting a bit over its head. KU made the comeback. They got within 2, and then Mark Mitchell, of all people, who's got the worst shooting form you've ever seen in your life, knocks down a corner 3, and that was essentially the ball game there. That's 2 games in a row KU's gotten flat-out outworked on the road, and if they can't handle Omaha and Columbia, I have very bad news for this group about Ames and Waco and Houston and Provo and Manhattan, just to name a few of the road destinations in the Big 12. They are 0-2 on the road and 0-2 with a bullet on the road, and that is a concern. But the broader concern, and you mentioned this earlier, Spencer, at the top of the hour when we were teasing this, KU's transfers, not really giving them a whole lot right now. What is it like? I feel like the guys from Office Space. I want to sit AJ Storr and Rylan Griffin down and say, guys, what is it you say you do here? AJ Storr looked like a scared freshman yesterday. I don't think he knows quite what he's supposed to be on this KU team. Rylan Griffin, he had the illness and he didn't go against Creighton, so we can give him a pass for that game at least. But Rylan Griffin was a cipher on Sunday. Zeke Mayo was unplayable. Like, they could not play Zeke Mayo.
And they did. They played 26 minutes.
But they couldn't play him down the stretch.
Yeah.
And you need to play those guys because those are your most talented guys. Like, AJ Storr was a first-team All-Big Ten guy last year. Rylan Griffin playing on a Final Four team. They can't be nothing. And they were effectively nothing in that game. And they have been very disappointing, I think it's fair to say, to start their KU careers. And Zeke Mayo, too, to an extent. I mean, he's had some moments, but he's shooting 31% from three. That won't fly. That's got to be a lot better, especially because Creighton and Missouri both seem to have cracked a code that feels pretty obvious when you say it out loud, when you actually watch the games. But teams really haven't committed to it the way Creighton did on Wednesday night. Just don't guard DeJuan Harris. Because if DeJuan Harris shoots a bunch of threes, like, he might make some, but right now, DeJuan Harris is a 26% three-point shooter. And he's shooting at volume. He's shooting 3 threes a game. That's the bigger problem. Their spacing's out of whack. They're struggling on offense. They were a mess turning the ball over. And big-time players that they're counting on to be scorers, to take some of the pressure off of Hunter Dickinson, to alleviate the fact that two guys that have to be on the floor, Harris and Adams, aren't scorers. For A.J. Storr and Rylan Griffin to be ciphers in a game like that, that's unacceptable. And that game meant a lot to Mizzou. You could tell. You could tell it meant a lot to Tamar Bates, Kansas City Piper High School. You could tell it meant a lot to Mark Mitchell, Bishop Miege, Sunrise Christian. Kansas kids played their tails off. That game meant something to them. And didn't feel like it meant the same to KU. It's one thing to go and get beat. I didn't expect KU to go 40-0.
Yeah.
But it's another thing to go get punked. And this is a team that's got to do a long look in the mirror before they play North Carolina State at the Fog on Saturday. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up the hour. 580 Sports Talk next. A take I'm workshopping for tomorrow's show. What if the Big 12 isn't the best men's basketball league in the country anymore? What if it's the SEC now? Because right now it looks like it might be the SEC.
Yeah.
It's early. It's early. We'll see. But I'll have some extended thoughts on that coming up on tomorrow's edition of 580 Sports Talk. Our Prairie Band Casino or Casino Resort Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest sees Spencer and I deadlocked this week. Both of us had winning weeks. We made you money this week. 3-2 on our picks. We went head-to-head on 2 of our 5 picks, and we each got one over on the other.
Yeah.
Georgia covered for me in the SEC championship game. The under in Chiefs Chargers hit for you. And your Marshall Thundering Herd not only covered the +6, they're the Sun Belt champs. How about that?
It all went downhill from there.
Well, hey, celebrate while you can, right?
Yeah.
Count your wins. That was your lock of the week. My lock of the week was Georgia covering the +3, and they did in the SEC title game. Coming up next, 580 Sports Talk headlines, more NFL and Chiefs thoughts. Hang with us on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of this Victory Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We've had a lot of Victory Mondays, 12 of them already this year for the Kansas City Chiefs, winners of the AFC West for a 9th consecutive year. Thanks for being with us on this Monday show. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com and on our YouTube stream. You can watch the video on our YouTube page live and archived. 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can also check us out on Facebook, WIBW News. Bit of show lore that I wanted to bring back. Spencer, this is a new story to you. Maybe not. Because I think Brendan told me he did mention it on the show the other day, and I don't know if you were around for it or not, but we had a producer on the show once upon a time named Marco Marquez, and Marco, diehard Chiefs fan, bought the division champion gear every year for the Chiefs. I wonder if he got in line wherever he is today. Marco Marquez, wherever you are, got in line today to purchase a 9th AFC West division championship.
None of you guys are still in contact with him?
I should reach out. I think I've still got his number. I should reach out and ask him. It's just like division championship gear is always a little bit much for me. Like I have like world champion stuff. And like when my teams won like league championships for the first time, like I bought an NFC champion Seahawks shirt back in like 2005 when they'd never been NFC champions before.
Yeah.
But after a while, like, you know, you can always wait to buy that stuff when it goes on incredibly deep discount.
Yeah.
After the season.
Like,
Maybe you've lost the Super Bowl.
I got what was it? Oh, 2012. I got Nationals division champ stuff because they hadn't done it yet.
Sure. Yeah, that I think that's acceptable when it's the first one. Like when it's the ninth one in a row, like do you just maybe Marco's gonna make a quilt.
I don't know. I did find his Twitter. He hasn't posted anything about the division champion though.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask him. Gonna have to reach out and see if Marco is last I knew he's still in Kansas City, still working with Chiefs Radio. But I'll have to reach out and see if he's got a 9th straight division champion shirt on order. We'll have some more final thoughts on the Chiefs' 19-17 win over the Chargers last night, a game that felt like every Chiefs game so far this year. Kind of not all that fun to watch if you're a Chiefs fan, maybe excruciating in parts. Patrick Mahomes looked like he wanted to stare a hole directly through all 5 of his offensive linemen for the better part of 60 minutes. And then at the end, the good guys win. Like, it is getting to be, like, if it were a TV show, you'd call it formulaic by now, right? You'd say, no hum. Yeah, of course they wonder how they're going to wriggle out of this jam. Like, you and I watch enough network television, right?
Yes.
Like the FBI's on CBS. They're like, wow, how are they going to catch this murderer? And then at the end of the episode, they catch him. How are they going to do? How is how's our guy? Oh God, what's the actor's name on Most Wanted? Most Wanted is the one I like the best.
I don't watch Most Wanted.
You don't watch Most Wanted?
No.
That's the best one.
Mostly because I have too many darn shows that I'm watching. And I couldn't catch up because the shows are on all different platforms.
It's not Dermot Mulroney. It's Dylan McDermott. Watching and seeing how is Dylan McDermott going to not die and apprehend this killer who's been on a 3-state killing spree. Most Wanted, also the most violent of the shows, like by far. Like lots of people die in an episode of Most Wanted, but never Dylan McDermott. He always finds a way. And the Chiefs, just like a formulaic TV drama, always find a way. One more play, one more yard, one more kick, 3 different times this year.
It's literally like you are getting to the subplot of a show, and it's like it's an hour-long TV show, and you're watching it when it's set to come on, and it's like 8:45 p.m., and you're like, how are they ever going to get to the end of this where like they actually come out and arrest this guy, and then boom, 8:57, they've arrested this guy, and that's the Chiefs winning a game.
They're either in cuffs or there are multiple holes in them on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, they always find a way to wrap it up by the end, and that's the Chiefs right now as they win the AFC West for the 9th straight time. Have some more Chiefs thoughts. Have some NFL thoughts. Week 14 is in the books. I think I wrote Week 15 in the rundown. It's Week 14. There's still 4 more weeks of football left. We're not that close to the end of the year. But yeah, we're coming up on the end of Week 14 tonight. Cowboys, Bengals. Any interest in this one at all, Spencer? Like even from it's football standpoint?
I got some interest because I have Joe Burrow on one of my fantasy teams. I need him to. We're in the playoffs in this one.
Oh, okay.
Man,
that's tough being a playoffs when you still got byes.
Yeah. That was my problem. I've had this week's I've got a lot of people that are out because of byes. But I need like a 40-point game from Joe Burrow in order to stay alive.
See, I am in a league where to make the playoffs, I need to win, which means I need Jamar Chase to get lost on the way to the game tonight and not show up, or tear his MCL on the first snap. It's looking grim for one of my fantasy teams, but nobody cares about my fantasy team. So I will be watching the Simpsons broadcast.
Yeah, I need Joe Burrow to get approximately 45.6 points.
I will be watching the version of the broadcast where Joe Burrow is played by Barney Gumble or Police Chief Wiggum, or however they're going to do the Simpsons broadcast tonight. I'm really looking forward to checking that out. Anyway,
also back to my rant, real quick fantasy rant.
Okay,
I got stuck into a part, so I drafted. I think I mentioned this on the show. I did draft Travis Kelce. But then later in my draft, I drafted Xavier Worthy as a secondary third. He wasn't my main receiver. Do you know who I drafted early as my main receiver or as my second receiver?
Who would that be?
DeAndre Hopkins.
It's a lot of Chiefs.
Well, in August, when I did this draft, DeAndre Hopkins was the Titan. So I kind of got screwed there because I had to pick between each one every week.
That's true.
And this week I picked Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins had the touchdown.
Yeah, Hopkins scored the touchdown. That's tough. Yeah. Never play fantasy football for money, folks. Never do it.
Nope.
I'm just lighting it on fire. Anyway, let's get into the 580 Sports Talk headlines first, though. Let's do that here at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. We'll start with the breaking Chiefs news of the day. Veteran cornerback and former Chief Steven Nelson has been signed to the Chiefs practice squad. Nelson retired this past offseason after spending the previous 2 seasons with the Houston Texans, citing a desire to spend more time with his family. He has a couple of little ones, and they had another baby on the way as a family. And so he walked away, but said at the time that he would stay in shape in case an opportunity to come back arose. That opportunity has arisen with the Chiefs. Matt Verderame pointed out that Steven Nelson was a Chief so long ago, it predates Steve Spagnuolo. So he actually played on the Bob Sutton defenses of the early Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid era.
Well, it wasn't even Patrick. Patrick came in later.
Yeah, would have been Alex Smith at first.
9 years ago.
But he's had a nice career, and last year played really well for Houston. If he's got anything in the tank, he's going to help what has been a struggling Chiefs secondary. He takes the place on the practice squad of Nico Remigio, who has actually been elevated to the active roster. And based on what we saw last night, I wonder if Remigio might be first-choice punt returner, kick returner moving forward. He had a little juice on some of those punt returns.
Yeah, he really did. I think it was a nice little burst there. But something you're not mentioning is what we thought was maybe a little non-injury injury was a big injury for McCole Hardman.
Yeah, Hardman is on IR now, and that's who Remigio replaced on the 53-man roster, which is why there's room on the practice squad to add Steven Nelson. So Nelson is in the building. He will practice with the team this week. I have to imagine that they'll elevate him for, I mean, if he's in playing shape, they'll probably elevate him for Sunday, especially if Joshua Williams can't go.
Yeah.
No real big updates on the 2 injured players for the Chiefs from last night's game. Andy Reid, speaking to the media earlier today in Kansas City, did note that DJ Humphries was scheduled for an MRI on his hamstring today. Also said that Joshua Williams was feeling better, but it has to clear. I don't want to say it was concussion protocol because that hasn't been specified, but that's sort of what they're making it sound like is going on with Joshua Williams.
Yeah, and they don't have to discuss injuries yet. And also, they strategically place these press conferences to this. It's like almost the same time these guys are getting treatment.
Right.
So they don't have to discuss injuries because they don't know the actual outcome of any of these early injuries.
So that's what we know. That's the latest, that Joshua Williams' status is kind of day to day, and DJ Humphries the same. And Steven Nelson is the newest chief, an old chief, back with the Chiefs on the practice squad. First headline, Spencer.
Yes, I don't like reading this headline, but I'm going to read it. Juan Soto has signed a 15-year, $765 million deal with the Mets. He can opt out after 5 years. Escalators take the deal to over $800 million if he opts in. Oh my gosh. I didn't think this saga was going to end for a little bit, but it ended this weekend.
It's so much money. Like the first thing.
Also, there are no, this is all like Stephen Cohen put his wallet on the table. There's no deferments. Not a single deferment in this.
No deferred payments. There's a $75 million signing bonus. The opt-out after 5 years can be voided if the Mets increase his annual salary over by $4 million a year over his final 10 seasons, which would take the total value of the deal to $805 million. That is so much money.
And he turned down an offer for what, 16 years and 755 or
760. Yeah. The Yankees reportedly offered 16 years, so one additional year,
less
and
AAV.
$5 fewer $1 million total.
Yeah.
And Soto ended up signing with the Mets instead, going back to the National League.
This is a NL East former guy played on this team's worst nightmare, because you have 3 guys that have now signed lucrative deals that were on said Nationals teams, and they're all in the division. Bryce Harper,
Right.
Trey Turner.
I forgot about Trey Turner.
And now Juan Soto.
Yeah, forgot about Trey Turner there.
Seeing them for that amount of games every year is just, coming to Nationals Park is just going to suck.
That's tough.
I will say Juan did get his World Series ring in DC.
Yeah, he's a champion forever.
And he did, the trade did allow the Nationals to get a big haul.
It did. They came out fine in that trade with the Padres, really.
I think that this contract shows they came out fine with that trade, because there's no way they would ever have that amount of money, even with deferments, to be able to give that contract. They traded him at the right time.
They did. Mark B in the YouTube chat says, the Soto deal is ridiculous. I'd want a bit more defense out of a guy for that kind of coin. Mark B, with respect, if you're talking about defense with Juan Soto, you're completely missing the point of Juan Soto. I don't care if he never puts on a glove for the rest of his career. If he never played another game on defense, he would still be worth whatever any team wanted to pay him, because this is Ted Williams. This is Ted Williams, guys. Like, this is a 26-year-old. So we're talking about a guy who might not even be in his prime yet, who might set the Major League Baseball record for walks. He's one of the most prolific on-base guys. He has a .421 career on-base percentage. That's good for 19th all-time. He's one of the best on-base guys in the history of baseball. His career OPS, 953. It's better than Jeff Bagwell, who walked into the Hall of Fame. He's got 201 career home runs. Last year, hit 288, 419 on base, slugged 569, finished third in the MVP voting, was an all-star, was a silver slugger. I don't care if he wears his glove on his foot if he hits like that. And he's going to hit like that for a long time, because being able to draw up free passes and hit for power like Soto does, that's what we call old player skills. And what we mean by that is they age really well.
Yeah.
Like Juan Soto's batting eye is going to age extremely well. He is going to be some form or fashion of this for the better part of the life of that contract. Like years 11 through 15, when Soto is in his late 30s, those might get a bit iffy, and he will certainly be a full-time DH by that point.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care. In years 1 through 10, you have one of the, at minimum, 3 best hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
And this should be a guy that every team in baseball should have been willing to pull out the checkbook. Like, the Royals called on Soto. They made that call. They called Scott Boras, said, hey, we'd be interested. And the Royals are never going to be able to put $765 million in the pocket of one guy.
No.
That's just not realistic. I think the total value of Soto's deal is half the franchise value, according to Forbes, of the Colorado Rockies.
Yeah, I think he makes more money in 1 year than the Nationals' current roster.
He's going to make more money than the Pittsburgh Pirates do in the next 5. It's mind-boggling, the money. But
I got to give it to Stephen Cohen, though.
Yes, in a
you wanted it, you got him, and you literally put it all on the table, and you said, I am going all in. I don't want to defer you. I am going to do this. I have this, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to do this thing.
I give Steve Cohen credit for this as the Mets owner, because he bought that team
5 years ago, right?
I don't know if it was 5, but when he bought the team, he spent a lot of money on free agents. Remember his big spending spree? Remember Scherzer and they made the Lindor deal, and they spent big early on in his tenure as the owner. And do you know what that got them in 2023? 87 losses. It flopped. It's Stephen Cohen's big spending in that, because it wasn't just Scherzer, it was Verlander. Remember the same offseason, Scherzer and Verlander? And it flopped. It was a disaster. That team didn't even make the playoffs, didn't sniff the playoffs. And for a lot of rich guys, that would be, including the ones who own baseball teams, that would be a reason to say, well, hey, I spent the money and it didn't work out, so I'm not going to do that again. Stephen Cohen looked at it and said, well, I guess I just got to spend my money better next time. And then he went and bought modern-day Ted Williams. Yeah. And the Mets were a playoff team last year. I'd be very surprised if they don't win a championship with Juan Soto as their best player, because he is a championship-caliber player. He's been one since he was 20 years old. He is only 26. He is going to have a baseball reference page. He already does. He's going to have a baseball reference page at the end of this. It just blows your mind. It's going to be one of the most fun ones to look at, like Ted Williams.
Yeah. Did you know that Carlos Mendoza, the Mets manager, his son told everyone on TikTok this was going to happen days before it happened?
I did not know that.
Yeah, no. He commented on it was something about that he was in Boston, I think last week was Soto.
Yeah.
And he said no, he's coming to the Mets, $700+ million.
Well, apparently I need to get on TikTok for the breaking MLB free agent rumors. Final word on the Soto thing. Mark H., you said it better than I could. At least he didn't go to the Dodgers.
I mean, could they afford that?
Probably. They as much money as they defer.
Yeah, but I think Juan Soto didn't want any deferments.
Well, reportedly also wanted to stay on the East Coast. As Rockies owner Dick Monfort said in an email to a fan. Guy I know a little bit from social media. Yeah. I don't want to talk about it. Let's talk about happier news. Let's talk about why I'm wearing this hat today. Let's talk about the 2 newest members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. The Veterans Committee submitted their votes, and there are 2 inductees from the Veterans Committee to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2025, and they are 2 players who should have been inducted a long, long time ago. The first, Dick Allen, Hall of Famer, finally. Shame he's not alive to see it. He died of cancer in 2020, right before a vote that saw him miss the Hall of Fame by 1 vote. He is, by all accounts, the only person to miss the Hall of Fame by 1 vote twice. 2 different times, the Veterans Committee was 1 vote shy of putting him in, but now Dick Allen is going to Cooperstown. And Dick Allen stayed out of the Hall of Fame for a long time for 2 reasons. One reason is he didn't have the big counting numbers that a lot of his contemporaries had. He only had 351 career home runs. He only had 1,848 career hits. He didn't get to that 500 or the 3,000 level that a lot of his contemporaries who are in the Hall of Fame did. The other thing, too, is that he didn't play nice with the media, because he had a very good reason to not play nice with the media because nobody ever played nice with Dick Allen. He was a Philadelphia Philly at a time when the Phillies were one of the most racist organizations in all of sports. They were one of the last teams to integrate. Dick Allen was treated abominably in Philadelphia by Phillies fans, by the Phillies organization, by the media that covered the Phillies. They would not give this man the dignity of calling him by his chosen name. He wanted to be called Dick Allen. They called him Richie. They would not call that man what he asked to be called. They would not extend to him even that barest bit of human dignity because he was a black man. And he had to deal with that his entire career. And while dealing with that, was one of the best hitters in baseball from 1964 to 1976. A 292 lifetime average, a 912 lifetime OPS, rookie of the year in 1964 with the Phillies, MVP in 1972 with the White Sox when he led the league in home runs and RBI and on-base percentage and slugging percentage. Led the league in home runs twice, led the league in on-base percentage twice, led the league in slugging percentage 3 times. Dick Allen, finally a 7-time All-Star, a Hall of Famer. The other Hall of Famer, the reason I'm wearing this hat today, back in 2019, I did a project on the old WIBWNewsNow.com website where I wondered openly, every other professional league has like all-pro, all-NBA. Why doesn't Major League Baseball do all-league teams? Why don't they do the all-NBA or all-MLB team? And I wrote a whole thing about why they don't do it and what all MLB teams would look like by a certain methodology that I myself came up with. And I made all MLB teams from 2000 to 2018. And then in 2019, Major League Baseball started doing an all MLB team. Like, better late than never. But now they finally do it. So at the end of the year, you can look and say, okay, Salvador Perez was all league at catcher. Like, this is going to be something that we bring up in Hall of Fame debates moving forward. I think it's a good thing that this exists, but it didn't exist until fairly recently, which means we don't have it for a guy like the Cobra Dave Parker, who is the second new Major League Baseball Hall of Famer. Dave Parker, 339 career home runs, 290 lifetime average, 810 career OPS, 2,712 hits. He played for a long time, played into his 40s, and drove in 1,493 runs. He was the MVP of the National League in 1978, 7-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 3-time Silver Slugger winner. When I did my all-MLB project, the methodology that I used, it wasn't real complicated. It was basically just how much MVP support did players get based on their positional peers. And I used that to determine whether or not a player would have been an all-MLB player. By my methodology, Dave Parker would have been a first-team all-MLB outfielder 4 times.
Wow.
As a Pirate, and 1 time in 1985 as a Cincinnati Red when he finished second in the MVP voting, hit 34 home runs, led the league in RBI. 5-time, first-time all-league player. Everybody else, and I did this all the way back to 1933, the first All-Star game. That's where I started it. Every other player that, by my methodology, was a 5-time all-MLB player or more who did not use steroids or gamble on baseball is in the Hall of Fame. And so when I did that project, there were certain guys that would jump out to me historically and say, man, this guy did not get the due he deserved. And Dave Parker was one of those guys. So for a long time, I have said, Dave Parker ought to be in the Hall of Fame. And Dave Parker's health is failing him. He's been dealing with Parkinson's disease for a few years now. And it has robbed him of a lot of his physical capabilities, but he is going to live to see his day in Cooperstown. And that's awesome. Wonderful news. 2 batting titles, led the league in doubles twice, led the league in RBI once, had 26 outfield assists in a season, which is the second most all time. You ask people who are watching baseball in the 70s, they'll tell you Dave Parker had one of the greatest right field arms in the history of the game. A 5-tool player, could have put up even bigger numbers, did have some off the field issues, dealt with cocaine addiction like so many athletes and baseball players in particular did. It cost him some years in his late prime in the early 1980s, but reinvented himself and his career as a respected veteran, helped the Oakland A's win the 1989 World Series, was an all-star in 1990 at 39 years old with the Milwaukee Brewers. Great career, great player, Hall of Famer, Dave Parker. That's why I'm wearing the Pirates hat today. I was insistent after I did that project. If I took nothing away from it, it was like, damn, Dave Parker needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And so Dave Parker's in the Hall of Fame, and that makes me really, really happy. Do we have we have some college football notes for our last headline, Spencer?
Yeah, there's an interesting verbal contractual dispute at the Oklahoma State University with football coach Mike Gundy, who very much so underwhelmed this last year. The school wanted to give him a pay cut, and he didn't want to take it. Well, I guess he took the pay cut because he's staying at OSU, because they would have fired him with cause if he didn't.
Yep, Mike Gundy's hanging around.
Yeah.
There was a lot of news about maybe there being a standoff between him and OSU, but he has accepted whatever they threw at him there in Stillwater, and he's going to come back for next year. The other coaching note from the Big 12, Scott Frost is back.
He's back, and he acknowledged that sometimes you go up the ladder too fast.
I just hope they have a golf simulator that he can use at UCF, and that they just let him bang golf balls into a simulator whenever he feels like it. Scott Frost rehired at UCF. Of course, he coached them to a 12-0 record and a New Year's Six game and a national championship that they claim in their stadium. He will replace Gus Malzahn at UCF. One other coaching note to get to that is of some in-state interest. Folks who are familiar with NAIA football in the state will remember former Kansas Wesleyan head coach Matt Drinkle, who really had the Coyotes cooking a couple of years back. He spent the last 6 years as an assistant at Army. He is going to get a Division I head coaching opportunity. He'll be the new head coach at Central Michigan.
The Chippewas.
So congratulations, Coach Matt Drinkle. A lot of people have really great things to say about him after his time in Salina. I think they won 40 games in 4 years. They were nationally ranked every one of those years. He really had it rolling at KWU, and now he gets a chance after 6 years as an assistant in Army to be the head coach at Central Michigan. And last thing, we can let you pat yourself on the back. You scooped everyone listening to us on who the new Marshall coach was going to be.
Yeah, so I said Charles Huff was leaving, unfortunately. He went to Southern Miss. That did happen. And NC State defensive coordinator, former West Virginia defensive coordinator, one of the big proponents of the 3-3-5 defense, Tony Gibson, going to be Marshall's next head coach on a 6-year contract.
Spencer had it first. You were in the know if you listen to 580 Sports Talk. You knew that was happening before it happened. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Some thoughts on NFL Week 14 coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk. 536 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. Looking back on week 14 of the National Football League, kind of a grim slate, but the games that we thought would be good or at least compelling ended up being pretty compelling, particularly Bills-Rams at SoFi Stadium. Rams win at 44-42. How about this stat? There had previously been, counting the playoffs, this is from Tim Graham, who covers the Bills for The Athletic. He put this on Blue Sky. Counting the playoffs, there had previously been 317 NFL games in which a team scored at least 6 touchdowns and didn't turn the ball over. That's what the Bills did on Sunday. 6 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. So now the record for teams who score at least 6 touchdowns and don't commit a turnover in a game is 317-1. No team had ever lost a game doing what the Bills did. Josh Allen was Mega Man, like always, but it didn't matter. And we talked to Matt Verderame about this, our NFL insider, in hour number 1 of the show. And Matt said that the secret sauce isn't anything spectacular for the Rams. It was just their willingness to lean on a small Bills front seven and a small Bills defensive line relative to, the rest of the league, and just pound it and run it and run it and run it. And they weren't explosive necessarily on the ground, but they were successful. They kept churning out successful run play. That sounds like a team you might be familiar with, that might be their formula to beating the Bills in January.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I think that when we look back, if the Bills don't get to the Super Bowl, and Matt acknowledges, and I think we can all acknowledge, no matter how we feel about the Chiefs, the Bills, by and large, are playing better than the Chiefs of late.
Oh, yeah.
But no team is perfect, and this may be the way the Bills get got in January. Just a team being more physical than them offensively and being able to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. But with that being said, the Rams were able to do that and lean on them with the run successfully, and they still needed a blocked punt touchdown to end up winning the game because Josh Allen is just undeniable. And so maybe...
Yeah, I had that game kind of on the back burner, and then I was doing a bunch of stuff in the apartment, and then I heard, I had it on, and I hear Allen, like every 30, 40 seconds, like, Allen, downfield, Allen throws, he's going to rush the ball, he's going to get outside, and I'm like, I had to run back in there and start watching it again.
But no, I think that's going to be the formula. If the Chiefs run into them again in January, they're just going to have to grind them just over and over and over, because I think we saw Isaiah Pacheco getting back to form a little bit last night, and I think that's probably the way forward. You keep away from Josh Allen that way too, which is probably something you want to think about doing if you're a defense playing against that team right now. Some other thoughts from NFL Week 14. I'm all the way back in on Bryce Young. I know they didn't win against the Eagles, and I know that Young just missed on what would have been a game-winning touchdown to Xavier Legette there in the final seconds, although maybe Legette should have caught that ball. I'm not sure. But all of a sudden, ever since he came back after Andy Dalton's injury, Bryce Young was like a completely different quarterback. And I've said it over and over. It is good for the league to have good quarterbacks, particularly the ones who are drafted highly, who teams have invested a lot into. And so it is good that the Panthers are starting to see Bryce Young look like a guy who can maybe turn the corner and be a quality starting quarterback in this league. I thought he was really impressive, made some big-time throws against a really good Eagles defense, too. So a lot of credit to Bryce Young, even in a losing effort.
I thought the 49ers were dead.
All right, you want to talk about the Niners, or we want to talk about the team they beat?
I mean,
we can talk about the Niners first, because that was impressive, down to like their 4th running back, and they beat the
they beat the brakes off the Bears, and my guy Tyson Bagent got in and threw a pass for 6 yards.
Oh, that's how bad it got?
I wasn't watching it. I stopped watching it, but I'm on the box score, and it says Tyson Bagent 1 for 1, 6 yards. So
at one point in the game, total yardage was 315 yards for the 49ers and 2 for the Bears.
Yeah. I was just my total takeaway from this is the running game is not completely dead.
Well, it never is going to be with Kyle Shanahan. That's the whole thing.
Like, yeah.
The whole thing with the Shanahan running game, right? I mean, you go back to Denver. After Terrell Davis got hurt, there was Mike Anderson. There was Olandis Gary. There were all these no-names who came up in Denver under Mike Shanahan who would rush for 1,500 yards because it's the scheme that makes it work. And it's the scheme in San Francisco. Now, scheme with a great player, that great player, like Terrell Davis, goes to the Hall of Fame, right? Christian McCaffrey was nearly the MVP last year. But, yes, the scheme is going to make it shake for the 49ers, particularly against teams that are so overmatched that they punt more times than yards gained in a half of football. I haven't seen that very often. But they had 5 punts, the Bears, in the first half. They only had 4 yards. They had 12 feet of offense in 30 minutes of football. That is gross. Also gross, Kirk Cousins. Man, it is over for Kirk Cousins. And I don't know if the Falcons can fully admit that yet because they still owe him so much money. But, man, it is so over.
They're in
for
such
Kirk
a
Cousins.
bad situation.
I mean, like, I don't know what they could have expected because Kirk Cousins' whole thing was he always took pretty good care of the football, and now he doesn't do that anymore.
Are we going to see Penix this year?
On the one hand, there's 2 answers to that question, Spencer. Should we? Absolutely. Will we? I don't know. Falcons might have too much invested in Kirk Cousins to fully give up. They're only a game out of first place in that abominable division.
And the last few games are pretty favorable, right? They got the Raiders.
They do.
They got the Giants.
Raiders, Giants,
Panthers.
And Panthers, 3 of their last 4
You go
games.
3-1, you probably lose to the Commanders.
Yeah, I would think they would lose at Washington. But, yeah, even if they go 2-2, they're in with a chance at 8-9 because that division stinks. You know what division is getting interesting? The NFC West.
Yeah.
My Seahawks have won 4 in a row. They remade their team like 5 weeks ago, and they're starting to click under Mike McDonald. They beat Arizona. Geno Smith didn't turn the ball over and didn't get sacked. The offensive line is starting to function. The running game is starting to function. The defense looks like a Mike McDonald defense. And right now, Seattle's got a 1-game lead over the Rams in that division. The Rams have the 49ers next. I think if you're the Seahawks, you're probably rooting for the Niners to win that game, give you a little bit more breathing room. Seattle's got Green Bay Sunday night. And then they got Minnesota the week after, but both of those are home games before they go to the Bears and then to the Rams in their finale. 2-2 probably gets them in the playoffs at the very least. I did not think that was possible after they lost to the Rams before their bye week. But, yeah, things done changed in the NFC West.
Yeah. Crazy.
Look at my Hawks. Look at my Hawks soaring.
It was weird.
Soaring.
It was weird this weekend to have a bye week and not to watch the Commanders.
Yeah, late season bye week.
Because it's just so late. Like, to me, like, this late bye really, it was just weird. Yeah. Like, I felt like yesterday was really missing something. Not that I needed, not that, like, you know how if it's mid-season, you're like, this is great. I can go do other things. It was like, I'm watching football. Where's my team?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, strange to have bye weeks this late in the year. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Some final thoughts on the Chiefs' win over the Chargers last night here on 580 Sports Talk after this. Bit of breaking news here into 580 Sports Talk. The Heisman Trophy finalists have been revealed. 4 players making the trip to the Downtown Athletic Club. Oregon quarterback Dylan Gabriel, Miami quarterback Cam Ward, Ashton Genty of Boise State, their star running back, and the do-everything star, the Colorado Buffaloes, Travis Hunter. Those are your 4 Heisman finalists. I would vote for Travis Hunter. He'd be my pick. I thought he was the best player in college football, because nobody did what he did. And it's not just the novelty of playing both ways. It was that he was one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12 and also one of the best cornerbacks in the country. Like a cornerback you didn't throw at and a wide receiver you couldn't cover. Like it would be one thing if he did both of those things, but he was just okay at one of them. It was just a novelty act. It's not a novelty act. He was the best player in college football. He'd have my vote. All due respect to Genty, who was great. The quarterbacks had nice years. I don't take either of them really seriously. It's either going to be Hunter or Genty. I think it'll be Hunter. Final thought on the Chiefs and Chargers. Spencer, what do you take away from that one moving forward for the Chiefs into the final 4 games of the season?
I think you take away that your pass rush is continuing to get things going. 3 sacks back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few weeks ago where they couldn't seem to get the quarterback on the ground to end the play. They were getting pressure, right?
Yeah.
But they weren't getting sacks. And 3 sacks back-to-back weeks, I think, is big to see down the stretch. You get a many who he's continuing to work himself back into there, and I think that even helps the pressure that you're getting.
Did you notice Josh Uche was inactive?
I did see that, and I saw that. And what else? That would be the second time this year where they've traded somebody for somebody, and on that side of the ball at that position, and they've been benched.
And Cameron Thomas was always going to be a depth guy.
Yeah,
like they gave away like real draft capital for Joshua Uche, and
but
he can't get
Brendan
on the field.
Called this last week. Basically, he said, "What is he doing? He's not getting home. He's not doing anything."
Well, he's not playing. He played 1 snap the week before. It's just I don't know. Did they not talk to Steve Spagnuolo before they made the deal? It's mystifying that Joshua Uche can't get on the field after like giving up like actual draft capital to go and get a guy who had some pretty good underlying numbers and just can't get on the field for the Chiefs. But like you said, the fact that Amenahu has been impactful and that we've seen the pass rush produce these last couple of weeks.
I think the production is big because in the middle of the season, they weren't really producing.
My big takeaway is that the passing game for the Chiefs has to be simplified, and you have to lean on the quick game a little more right now because the offensive line can't be trusted to keep Patrick Mahomes upright. Don't know what the status of DJ Humphries is going to be moving forward. Hopefully he's not hurt too bad. He can play on Sunday, or they can at least get him back for the playoff push. But right now, this offensive line can't protect the crown jewels. And Mahomes can't take 4 more games of hits like that and make it to the playoffs in one piece. Just can't do it. So we saw the Chiefs have some success when they went up-tempo, the quick game. It needs to be more of that. It's going to need to be more of the ball getting out quicker, maybe the screen game, maybe lean more on the ground. They had a stretch of plays last night where 25 plays, they ran the ball twice. Like when your quarterback's taking a pounding, run the ball. Get them off of your quarterback one way or another. What has changed in the Chiefs passing game was an ask that I made. Not like they were listening to me, but I wanted to see more developing pass plays, some deeper shots, some explosive plays in the passing game. But this Chiefs team can't do it. They don't get open on them reliably enough, and they don't protect the quarterback for long enough. So time to go back to the drawing board, I think, for the Chiefs passing game moving forward, even if just for the sake of keeping Patrick Mahomes healthy. Before we take our final break, quick word from my friends at Great Life. With 8 fitness facilities and 5 golf courses, there's no better value than a Great Life membership, especially an all-inclusive membership. That's what I've got. How about free bay rentals at Top City Golf and a free bucket of range balls every day? Let me tell you what I'm going to be doing when the weather gets good. Hitting range balls every day. I'm going to get good at golf, like legitimately good. I can feel it. This is my year. And
Saturday was nice. If
Saturday,
that only extended to yesterday, that would have been nice.
I was kind of busy on Saturday, but no, great benefits for all-inclusive, for family memberships, great venues, great golf courses, great fitness facilities, great life. Go visit greatlifetopeka.com. Memberships make great holiday gifts. We'll take a break, come back with a final word after this. Time for a final word on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis, start us off.
While the Chiefs won that game 19-17, same score they won Black Friday's game against the Raiders 19-17. While they won the game and it was a doink in, I don't know how they keep doing it, but I think the Chiefs, this is a far out away theory here. The Chiefs are just trying to tell everybody how good they are by making it tough on them to win games just because they're bored with winning. So they're just trying to make everything tough so they can be like, this is everything we had to do this year to go win a Super Bowl because we're bored of winning it the normal way by winning games by 2+ touchdowns. And yeah, that's my theory.
You know, for a long time, there's even a podcast called Only Weird Games when it comes to the Chiefs. And for a long time, I kind of rolled my eyes about that a little bit. Like, I mean, come on. Like, you know, it's not, they don't always play weird games. Now, this year, it really has only been weird games. Shout out to Nate Taylor and Seth Kaiser. It really has only been weird games this year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Final word for me. If Kansas basketball can't handle the Chi Health Center in Omaha and they can't handle Mizzou Arena in Columbia, how are they going to handle Ames and Waco and the Octagon of Doom? How are they going to handle those Big 12 buildings that have history and are going to be riled up to try and rile up the Jayhawks when Big 12 play rolls around? It's one thing to lose. You're going to lose games. Every college basketball team in America will lose games. Every college basketball team in America will lose road games. But KU has looked unprepared their last 2 times out on the road. And they looked especially unprepared for the haymaker that Mizzou hit them with in the first 20 minutes last night. That's got to change, and they've got to get a lot more from their 3 headliner transfers, Rylan Griffin and Zeke Mayo and A.J. Storr. Those guys have to be a lot better, and they have to be a lot better quickly for the Jayhawks. We got more 580 Sports Talk coming up tomorrow from 3 to 6. Chiefs Kingdom is next, followed by Monday Night Football. Until tomorrow, for Spencer Dupuis, I am Dan Lucero, bidding you all an excellent rest of your night. This was 580 Sports Talk.